Just one bag is okay. Yeah.
You're on a tour?
Oh yeah, we're going to South Africa. So today to Zimbabwe and then Botswana. We've been in Zambia for 6 weeks.
6 weeks. How is it so far?
We've loved it. The people here are so kind.
Okay. How is the weather? The hotness?
Oh, perfect. Yeah. I think if we were at sea level, it would be too hot, but high up, it's all fine.
So when are you going back?
In about one month. Hi. In this week's episode, we conclude our time in Zambia and cross the border into Zimbabwe, country number 5 on this African leg of the trip and the 26th in total. Zimbabwe is in the midst of yet another financial crisis, experiencing its second wave of hyperinflation, the first of which being the second worst in human history. In this time of great flux, over the coming weeks we'll find out how people deal day to day with so much instability and what the future holds for this troubled country. We are now entering the elephant zone. I'm gonna not do much vlogging like this because I need both hands on the bike to be able to make a getaway if need be. As I said at the end of the last video, it's a lot riskier today because our bikes are heavy and less nimble if an elephant comes out of the bush like it did last time. But let's see what happens. Zimbabwe! Out of the elephant zone, and now we face another animal threat from the baboons. Last time they were here, they stole all the food that was on my bike, and we're carrying food again today. They can really try and start a fight with you. So one of us is gonna have to watch the bike all the time while we're getting these visas. Zimbabwe border. Let's go right. Good afternoon. We are well into the Zimbabwean bush now. On the left of me is Victoria Falls National Park, and on the right is Zambezi National Park. As you'd imagine, there's quite a lot of wildlife around here, so it's not that safe to do a bush camp tonight. We just asked at a couple of lodges if we could stay there, pitch a tent, and the last price we were told was $20 each per night. So that's obviously not an option. We are going to continue ahead. We've been told by a local that there aren't really that many elephants after Victoria Falls Airport. So let's hope that information's good, and maybe we can find a kind landowner who can let us camp, and if not, we'll have to see what happens. While riding past Victoria Falls Airport, we got in conversation with a man called Fanwell, who was head of security. He invited us back to his home and allowed us to camp on his land. We ate dinner with his family, had a wonderful night, and donated some money to help get his son Emmanuel's bike fixed, as our meagre selection of tools could only do so much.
Been in a couple of fights.
Yeah.
Oh, there she goes.
Goedenavond. Wij zijn in de stad Gwange. Ongeveer 80 kilometer van de grens met Zambia. Ik spreek Nederlands omdat wij zijn nu in een kerk. Wacht even. Daar is hij. En ja, mooie plek. Maar met een kerk, wij moeten zeggen dat wij christelijk zijn en dat wij getrouwd zijn. Dus ja, je moet altijd een beetje... ik heb de woord vergeten voor acting. Ja, anyway. Lange dag vandaag. Het is hier zeer heet en het wordt meer heet in de komende dagen. Ik denk morgen en de dag erna 37 graden ongeveer. Ja, Zimbabwe is moeilijk. Ik denk een van de grootste redenen dat wij hier kwamen was... Ik vond dit zo'n interessant idee om een land te zien die in een historische punt zat van... I'm too tired to think of all the Dutch words for like financial terms, but over the past 10 years Zimbabwe has experienced the second worst hyperinflation in human history. I think the first was Chad, if I remember correctly. And I thought this is such an important time period for the country. Robert Mugabe passed away only a few years ago, and there's a new government in now. Since we've crossed the border, I've realised that it's actually the same party but just a new leader, and then you guys also shit. And so the hyperinflation thing has actually happened twice, and it's happening again at the moment. So the only way we can pay is with US dollars, but the government have made it illegal for shops to charge US dollars, which means that the second currency that the government made was called the Zimbabwe bond note, and that was meant to be fixed against the US dollar. However, because at this point there was so little trust in the currency here, the official rate, bond to US dollar, is 320. The actual rate, price on the street, is 800 to $1, because as you can imagine there's a shortage of US dollars in the country. But when you go into the shops, they make their own rates, which makes everything very expensive and just very inconvenient and difficult. We have enough to get food and everything, but every time we go into a new shop, it's like you're gambling with how much they're gonna charge you. It's only our second day in the country, so I guess we'll kind of get to grips with everything and find out more as we go forward. Anyway, on to the camping. There's Nadia and the tent there. Cool. Tot morgen, jongens. To play the episode out, as we were leaving Hwange, we met a guy called Ngoni outside a petrol station, and he was happy to be on camera. We had a really good conversation with him, and I realized the stuff he was saying was so informative that I asked him to kind of repeat what he'd said again. So he's going to play the episode out today. Thank you so much, Ngoni, for answering our questions, and we'll see you all next week.
Alright.
So, could you give a summary of what life was like under Mugabe and how things have changed now after he's gone?
Alright, so this is what I have to honestly say, and I hope I will not infuriate the local politicians, but I'll say my mind out. Right, during Mugabe it was tense, people used to say the walls are listening, so you couldn't express yourself, even if you had a genuine concern, you'd keep it to yourself, because complaining at certain points and in certain parts of the country was a taboo. But I would say under the new dispensation, I think there's a lot more conversations and people opening up to their feelings, So here now you can criticize the president, something that never used to happen. You would not even say Robert Mugabe is not a good president. You just say I don't think he's a good president, and yeah, it would go totally bad for you. But people on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, they say the nastiest things about the new dispensation, and yeah, they can walk free, so for me it's a positive. And we also used to have a lot of tribal conflicts, tribal mistrust. Like, I'm from a Shona land, but I don't mind even coming to Matabele land and meeting people and talking. So then I realized that Shona politicians are not Shona people, so yeah, politicians are politicians. And yeah, so I would say I like it now. I really like, of course everything is not 100% perfect, but I would say there are a lot of positives, a whole lot of positives.
What was your experience like with the hyperinflation?
Okay, this is going to interest you now. This is, Nadia, listen to this. Okay, you guys call it hyperinflation, right? We call it an era whereby we got things for free. Why am I saying so? So, let's say bread, right? So you'd have a queue for bread, and when you buy bread, let's say at 8 a.m. it was 8 billion, right? At 10 past 8 it was 8.5 billion. So okay, the same bread in the same day would have maybe 10 different prices. So you'd buy bread in the morning for 8 billion, but in the evening it's probably 22 billion. So I felt like we were getting stuff for free, because the money is like, okay, let's say your phone, this is Nadia's phone. So let's say Nadia pays 1,000 euro for this phone. Then she goes back to the person who sold her the phone and then says, you know what, Nadia, you can even take your 1,000 euro, and your phone, because it's worthless. So, you get it? Yeah, so we were literally living for free. We got to a point whereby they were no longer counting the money. So even if you'd put the bigger denominations, the bigger trillions, then in there you have the lighter one, so they wouldn't even count. Yes, and then they'll just give you. And someone, when they come in, they just say, take the change. So, yeah, to some of us who were smart, we just started to put just put the useless money. Yeah, and then, because they were no longer counting money. They just take. So, yeah, it was interesting. For me, personally, I was like, huh? Are you telling me that Donald Trump is a billionaire, Bill Gates is a billionaire, and we're getting bread for $1 billion? So for me it was funny, like, so yeah. But also it brought us together as a people because we learned to share. During that time, if you wouldn't share, you wouldn't survive. So Nadia could get bread, and maybe I would get tomatoes, then you could get cooking oil. So we had to share, because you can't be in all of those places at once. So you have some cooking oil, you gotta give Nadia some, Nadia gives you some bread, so yeah, it was also a time whereby it kind of got the people together. And also, I think it was the very first time in our history whereby people completely ignored politics. Like, okay, we don't even want to hear about politics, we want to focus on survival. So that also gave room for then Robert Mugabe and Morgan Tsvangirai to speak to one another. And with that was the birth of the unity government, and it brought the stability that we have and we still even have today. Yeah.